Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel. The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel.
We're here to help you see the new you. This is Mike,
And Nyce Alvir, COVID survivors,
live streaming from Pasay City. You are watching
COVID
COVID Stories.
maayong aga sa mga pinalangga ko nakasimanwa sa Capiz, Iloilo, labi na gid sa Bacolod City, Negros Occidental. Maayong buntag sa mga ako amigo ag amiga na Bisaya sa Butuan, Cebu City, Davao. Welcome to COVID Stories.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to COVID Stories. Today is going to be a special day because we'll be interviewing somebody from our kababayan, but who resides in New York City in the USA, and he'll be telling his stories how he contracted the virus and where he contracted the virus. What they thought was a regular flu, it turned out to be worse. It was COVID already, and he's gonna tell us about
His experience.
and how he took care of his mother-in-law who had the symptoms of flu, so he was taking care of her, and it turned out she had COVID, and let's welcome our friend from New York and our kababayan from Bacolod City. Let's welcome Mr. Carlz Lacson.
Hi, good morning, Mike and Nyce. How are you?
Good morning, Carlz. We're good.
Good morning. Yes. Hey, Carlz, can you tell us some background there about yourself so the viewers will know who Carlz Lacson is?
Okay. See, a little bit about me. I grew up in Chicago. I came here back in 1972 when I was 6 years old. Basically grew up here and moved back to the Philippines in 2017. And that was actually my very first experience of living the Filipino life, and we moved to Bacolod City. Um, that's where my connection to Bacolod City is. Is we moved there. My wife is from Bacolod, and she grew up there, and it was great experience. 2.5 years of living there, and then coming back here in 2019, right before the pandemic started.
Okay.
So,
So you almost got stuck in the Philippines before you when we had the lockdown already on um, around
Um,
March. Yeah.
yeah, pretty close because I actually came back in February and stayed there. January. I came back in end of January and
mhm.
stayed there until the middle of February. So on my way back, all of this was already happening. On my way there, it was the volcano Taal that was just exploded. So I had a face mask on already walking around in Manila. And then when we went to Bacolod, of course, the news, I think when I was there, the first person in Manila who was Chinese contracted COVID and died. So all of this was already happening at that time. So on my way back, going through South Korea and then coming back into JFK, I was surprised. South Korea, everybody's wearing a mask. Once I got into JFK, nobody was wearing a mask. Nobody cared. They didn't realize that it was coming to us. It was reaching New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. It was actually here probably at that time starting to spread.
People at that time didn't know the severity of this virus. So they thought it was just an ordinary one. Nobody really cared about wearing masks
That
at the
that's
time.
yeah, that's true. Especially here. I mean, we thought it was worlds away, and early on too, President Trump locked down flights from China, so we thought it wasn't going to come here, or it wouldn't spread so easily because of the restrictions from flights. Flights from
Mhm.
China. But in New York or in this area, we didn't realize a lot of it was actually coming from Europe, from Italy, Spain, and other European countries.
Okay. Also, okay. Why don't you tell us how you got the virus? Walk us through your journey. So you tell us
Okay, so
okay, go ahead.
okay, so my mother-in-law, she's 76. She's a caretaker, and she takes care of an elderly patient. We have two theories. One of the theory is that she had to take the patient to the emergency room in the hospital. So of course, it's easy to catch in the emergency room when there's no, at that time, because there was a lot of people going in for into the emergency room with COVID symptoms. So she could have caught it there. The other time she could have caught it was the son-in-law of the person she was taking care of just came back from Spain, and he had symptoms of COVID, and actually after that he was put on ventilator. So she could have either caught it from the emergency room, visiting the emergency room, or she could have caught it from the son-in-law of the person she was taking care of.
All right. So, what were the first signs that you finally thought that it was going to be um, COVID instead of just the regular flu?
I had no idea it would be COVID. I mean, it was always suspect because that's what's going on in the news. The symptoms were there, but it's still, for me, it was still very similar to the flu. Body aches, um, fever, spikes. But, you know, I had a hard time breathing. So that was suspect. It wasn't really a hard time breathing, like hard to take a breath, but I was running out of oxygen. Like I was really low on oxygen. Anything I did, I'd be really tired, and then I'd have to catch a deep breath just to pick back up. Going up a flight of stairs was difficult, and that made me breathe a little bit harder. So that was suspect. But at the time, we took the test and it didn't come back. We didn't get the results until after we were actually recovered. That's when we found out, oh, it was COVID. It was what we suspected.
So you found out that you were positive after recovering already from COVID.
Almost recovery.
I've already recovered. I still remember the day I got a call from the New Jersey or Jersey City. I got a call from them. I was driving, running errands, and they said, "Well, you tested positive," and I'm like, "I'm already recovered." So I had a feeling it was COVID at the time, but again, it's we didn't really know for sure until we got that call.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So how did you think? How did you go through with it? Like, for example, you had the symptoms. It was just you. You just what did you do?
Well, at the time, I was also taking care of my mother-in-law. She got sick first, and I think I caught it from her when I was driving her around the week before when she wasn't feeling sick. Again, there's a lot of pre-symptomatic people who are contagious at the time. So I think that's when I got it because we never really wore masks when we were together and I'm driving her around. So I was taking care of her and she was isolated in her room and I was outside, always wearing a mask and taking care of her at the same time. And then one day I was talking to my wife who's in Bacolod right now. I was talking to her and I took my temperature and I said, "Oh, I have 100-degree fever." And I'm like, I might be catching it. So that's when it started. And a few days, I think around that time too, when I'd go up and down the stairs, I'd have to catch my breath. And I never really had to do that before. So that was in the back of my mind also.
So you had shortness of breath also. How about
Yeah.
your sense of smell and your taste?
Yes.
Sense of smell and sense of taste, I didn't really notice it until after I recovered and I could actually smell everything and I could actually taste everything. Before that, I wasn't paying attention to it.
Just like
But
us,
during
we applying Vicks Vapor Rub, and we couldn't smell a thing.
you
Then we
couldn't smell
realized
the Vicks Vapor Rub. Yeah.
We thought it
it
was
had a hard
expired.
it had a hard smell. Yeah, strong smell, but you couldn't smell it. Yeah,
Hmm.
and yeah, but during that time we didn't know that it was one of the symptoms yet, and we didn't know we had COVID yet during that time. It's like you. We caught the virus when it was overwhelming for the health services, for the government. So all the tests before would come out like a week after. So practically you're well already or on your way to on the road to
Recovery.
recovery. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, how did you decide? What did you decide, girls, at the time? I mean, you didn't even think like going to the hospital, or you just opted to stay at home.
Well, at the time here, I think the hospitals were being overwhelmed. And also because since we didn't really know if we had COVID or not, because of that, we were afraid to go to the hospital. So we were actually, I think the people here were actually advised, don't go to the hospital unless you really, really need to. Um, and I think that was really good advice because we really didn't need to. We didn't need to add on to the burden of what was going on in the hospital. Um, I had, my mother-in-law has low blood pressure, so she was always monitoring that. I had a pulse oximeter, so I was monitoring my blood oxygen level and her blood oxygen level, and we were still, 90%, 95%. So that was still okay. We didn't need to do that. Um, my mother-in-law never had problems with breathing. All she had was body aches, fatigue. Um, she didn't even have headaches. So she was okay. She just needed a rest, and that's all she really experienced. I think she only had a fever one night, maybe 2 nights, and that was it. For me, it was a little bit worse. She's older than me, and I got it worse than her, which I thought was a little off, but it was a good thing. That she recovered and it didn't really hit her that hard. Um, but for me, yeah, at nighttime was the most difficult. During the day, I'm okay, I'm active, I'm walking around, but at nighttime, uh, it just seems like all the symptoms. That's when it starts hitting me, or that's when I get the high fever spikes, I get the real intense body aches, and more fatigue. So basically, I just lie down in bed again and just go to sleep and sleep it off.
Mhm. I understand that because during our time, Mike thought it was just the air conditioning that he couldn't breathe, so he had to open the balcony. But for me, I cannot stand not in the aircon room. So it's different feelings for each and every one. And not only
Mhm.
that, it's hard to determine the common denominator because see, your mother-in-law is amazingly 76-year-old and she has not experienced the bad symptoms that we had experienced. So it's really good that it's
Yeah.
like that. She's lucky to have that.
Yeah.
You had even worse. You
Yeah.
probably experienced worse.
I had pneumonia, and she didn't have.
Mm.
And yeah, you'd have different. It depends on how it hits you. And then again, can you tell us about the protocols that time in New York, in the States? Um, how do they uh, how do they secure the patients with COVID, and how many days before you're allowed to go out of your houses from isolation?
The protocols, I'm not really sure. I mean, from what I know, from my experience and what we followed, I mean, even for me, when I came back from the Philippines, I self-quarantined for 14 days. That's at least what I knew for me. But I know a lot of people never followed that because, as you can see, they came in from Italy, Spain, and other parts of Europe, and they never self-quarantined. And I think that's how a lot of it spread. Um, but as far as from my experience and what we did was, I stayed home. um, I didn't meet with a lot of my friends. I tried to avoid going out and meeting with them. And if I did go outside, I made sure I was away from people. And if I ever went inside a building, even though I wasn't feeling sick, I'd still wear a mask just because I know I could either get it or I could spread it to other people. At least those were around. That's what I've been seeing in the news, and that's what the recommendations were from what I've heard. But again, a lot of people just don't follow those protocols anyway. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of it, started spreading here quickly and uh, throughout New York. I mean, we were hit pretty hard. New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, the cities and neighborhoods around here, we were hit out pretty hard.
Yeah.
I think, yes, I think for this disease to not spread, discipline has to start within ourselves. And if you know that you feel bad, you just stay at home and not go out. And somehow, hopefully, it will help flatten the curve.
Yes, yes, that's true. Especially in areas now, because there are places where there's, it's pretty quiet here in the tri-state area. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, but there are clusters that pop up here and there that I see in the news. So it's still around. I mean, I don't think it's gonna go away anytime soon. But if we all do our part to at least try to minimize and take precautions to minimize the spread, I think the economy can open back up even more. We need to do that. We can't live in the closet. We can't live locked up all this time. We have to live.
Yes.
During your well, you had symptoms and you thought you had a COVID. Then,
Mhm.
did you ever have this fear of dying?
Yes, I knew there was a possibility. That's why I turned off a lot of social media. I turned off a lot of the news because everything we hear in the news is all about these people dying and their awful experience and everything else. And I knew that most people do recover and do survive from this. So I didn't want to hear the negative news. I didn't want to be depressed. I didn't want to lose hope. So I turned all of that off. I messaged people, asked for prayers, and friends messaged me and provided me hope, and uh, they gave me prayers too. And I had friends coming over, dropping off food, running errands for us while we were quarantined. So that was very helpful. That was great. It's nice knowing that there was a lot of support, and that helped me, or at least that helped lift my spirit to be hopeful for the recovery. But yes, there was always that fear that I might die. I had my heartbeat was racing. It was going at 110, 120 beats per minute, and I wasn't doing anything. And that was for several days. So I thought, in the news, they had news of people going or having heart attacks. So I thought, that could happen. I could go to sleep, have a heart attack, and that's it, not wake up.
Yes.
So that was a possibility.
It's so scary knowing, it's so scary. Just the thought of thinking that you're not going to wake up the next day is so scary in itself already.
Yeah,
So,
but
okay,
sorry. Yeah,
go
but
ahead.
it's something, something that if we know that it could happen, something we can accept. Um,
Yeah.
the death is still a part of life. It's just a part of the circle that happens. So there's nothing I can do about it. It's gonna happen.
Sometimes it's not just the physical symptoms that we have to take care of, but also the mindset, the on how we see
True.
things, and that being positive really helps a lot in a road to recovery.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So, you mentioned about your friends and the some 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 have helped you a lot and brought you groceries. So, did you expect them really to support you that time? Because there's also the fear of the contamination and infection. So, how did you feel when you got all that support from your friends, and maybe you didn't expect that they would um, they would react that way and help you out?
Yeah. No, I was very surprised. I mean, this disease does isolate a lot of people. I mean, even before getting sick, we were already looking to quarantine, right? We were already isolated from our friends because hey, we could catch it from anyone. There was already a lockdown. Everything was closed. The stores were closed. Only certain stores were open for necessities. So there was already isolation for me and for everybody I knew. And catching the disease, and we have to self isolate ourselves even in our own house or our own apartment. That provided that level of being away from contact even more. So seeing people when I announced that I had COVID, seeing people providing support for me either through Facebook, through messages, really, really helped. I mean, it helped that they were there. even though we couldn't see each other physically, it's the words of encouragement and the prayers helped a lot. It helps lift the spirit.
Yeah, we had that too. We didn't expect a lot of people would uh,
Extend help,
extend
like
help and send you stuff.
groceries.
Yeah.
We were here in the Philippines. We were not allowed to go out, even from our place. So friends called us and asked what we needed, and they would send groceries. So it feels good. It helped in our recovery, that there are knowing that people cared and supported us and gave us something for our needs, because it's something that we cannot do ourselves. We were not allowed to go out, and that was
Mm.
for over a month.
Wow,
Yeah, I think.
that's wonderful. I mean, friends and family. They're there when you really need them, and it's nice to see. And it was such a great feeling when my friends did reach out and my family did reach out, and they were there. So it 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 gave me hope, even when at night when the symptoms are the worst, and I'm about to go to sleep, and again I don't know if I'm going to wake up the next morning. It's a nice feeling knowing that my friends and my family were there, you know to support me.
What's the most memorable, say, experience, or something that marked you, given your COVID experience?
Something that marked me.
I mean, something that really marked, like when you
Left of
remember, it never left you.
Well, for me, my memorable experience, again, this virus was tough because from the beginning I thought, oh, I get over this right away, right? I got a fever, the next day it was gone. It'd come back again, then the next day it'd be gone again. So I thought I'll get over this right away. But it seemed like as it went on, you know, it'll subside and then it gets worse. It subsides and it gets worse and worse. And I've read stories, sometimes people were getting better and then all of a sudden they get worse and then they pass away. So for me, that was always in the back of my mind. I get better, I get worse, and it was really, really frustrating. So by the time Easter Sunday rolled around, it was actually Easter. That's when I recovered. Um, I was playing Christian songs on my radio, or actually radio on my iTunes, and no, just Easter Sunday, all the blessings, Jesus Christ rising from the death, and for me, recovering on that day was really, really emotional for me at the same time. So that's what I remember vividly, because I thought, I could be a goner at any time, and Easter Sunday comes along, and no more fever, no more body aches, no more fatigue. I could walk around. I felt like a new person at the time. It was a strange, surreal feeling.
So you'd say you got closer to God more during the time you had the COVID. Would
Well,
you say that?
I guess I'm always been close to. I'm not a religious person, but I always have this personal closeness to Jesus. I believe in Jesus Christ. Um, but yes, it seems like all the time when we're in under some pressure or awful times in our lives, we do get closer to God in that way, right? Most of us basically do that. Um, but yeah, that experience definitely made me understand, it humbled me. It made me realize how frail this physical human body really is. It has a lot of weaknesses. It attacked every part of my body, especially my lungs. I mean, even after I recovered, walking half a block down the street made me gasp for air. So, you know, our body that we live in, it's very frail. It's not. it's not really as strong as I thought it would be.
It just goes to show that nothing is permanent in this world. So we have an inspiring story, Carl's. In the meantime, we are pausing for a short break. More stories when we return. Please stay on our stream. Before we bring back Carl's, I'd like to give you some announcement about our other TNC shows. The Big Picture shares inspiring stories of notable personalities, Mondays to Fridays, 7 p.m. HR Hotline introduces us to the wonderful world of human resources management, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 12 noon. Have an insightful Saturday afternoon because the family business is everyone's business, 4 p.m. The fourth project is about life, business, and success stories live from Dubai, UAE. 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. Philippine time on Sundays, on Saturdays. Usapang Beauty is about beauty beyond what your eyes can see. Thursdays and Saturdays, 5:30 p.m. Discover your life purpose and learn from others' turnaround stories by tuning in to U-Turn, Mondays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. The Home Buyer is where you hear remarkable stories about building and owning a property. Mondays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Laugh and learn through the puppet stories. Mondays, 5:30 p.m. Magbenta, bumili at tumulong dahil bukas na ang TNC Marketplace, an online night bazaar. Thursdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. Yo Law is for all of us to understand that law is fun and cool too. Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Watch and learn about money and more. Streams live from the Philippines and the US. Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Philippine time and 5:30 a.m. California, USA. Two leaders in one platform. TNC The Talk Mondays at 12 noon.
Yes, After Shift is a chillaxing show about the choices and lives after work. Wednesdays and Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Discover and learn strategies on self-leadership to win in life through Win Within. Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Dream, achieve, nurture, and inspire. Tag your kids along and watch Danny Art Show, Fridays, 5:30 p.m. Global issues, common interests, learn together across borders. Foreign affairs streams on Tuesdays at 10:30 a.m. Because health is wealth. Healthline on Wednesdays and Fridays, 4 p.m. New shows such as Awesome Day, Mondays at 2:30 p.m. Make sure to make your day an awesome day every day. Start your Saturdays celebrating the women at work, 9 a.m. Saturdays. Launching very soon. Cybernext, Tech U, GGNO, or Good Girls Night Out. Rainbow Time, and Game and Good Stuff. Catch also our TNC original shows such as One Day, an inspiring 30-minute show, storytelling. It alternates with TNC Town Hall, co-hosted by TNC founders Lloyd and Apple. This show is where we talk to you, our valued audience, about our shows on TNC. More upcoming TNC shows that will truly inspire you. The world has faced an unprecedented pandemic. Time to hear positive testimonies straight from those who recovered from the disease. COVID Stories, Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. Please follow our channel on Facebook and YouTube and let us help you see the new you.
Welcome back. You're watching COVID Stories.
Okay, let's say hi to our viewers, everyone. Hi to Ariel Tanangonan, Brad. How
Hi,
are you?
Ariel.
Marina Concepcion from Pasay City.
Hi, sis.
Also, Cholita Esplana, Jesse Francis Rebustillo, Elvira Lacson Manyo. Yes, they're
Laura
live now.
Aquino.
Yeah, Laura Aquino.
So let's
Okay,
welcome
let's
Carl.
welcome back Carlz Lacson.
Hello. Glad to
Hello,
be back.
say hi to your friends out there watching you.
Oh yes, I heard you say Elvira Lacson, which is who's my sister-in-law, and Laura Aquino, who's actually I'll be meeting up with in Las Vegas and going to Nevada. I mean, going to Arizona to take pictures. It's our photo tour. So, hi Laura
Uh,
and Steve, if you're watching.
So you're catching up after having COVID and the lockdown. You're trying to catch up and move around, traveling
Yes,
around.
I would want
yes.
to join your photo tour. It might be
Ac-
really exciting to do that,
yeah,
given
no,
all these lockdowns.
yeah, it was really difficult. I mean, even after my mother-in-law and I recovered, we still stayed isolated. We still stayed in the apartment until maybe for another month because we didn't know when we could go back out. It took another month before she actually went back to work. So actually, more than a month.
Yes.
After she went back to work, I started driving around. I visited my parents in Michigan, so I drove there. My sister lives in Tennessee, so I drove to Tennessee, and that's the picture of my sister. We were up in the mountains in Tennessee. Um, so it was good to get out. I even went to Washington D.C. and visited a high school friend of mine. Um, who I haven't seen in maybe 2 decades. I haven't seen him since high school, or actually since middle school. So it was good to get out and drive around and feel a little freedom, even though I stayed away from people, from the crowds. It was still nice to just feel the road and the vastness of you know the space around here.
So what we sometimes take for granted, we come to realize that it's such a blessing to be traveling. And I mean, yeah, we know traveling is really
Hmm.
it's really great for everyone. But even traveling in traffic,
And communing back to nature.
Yeah.
yeah, it's such a
Yeah,
blessing. That
that's actually what's
is
happening. What's happening here in the U.S. is a lot of people are just going out now. I just started hiking maybe a month ago. I saw my friend hiking around, and he hikes all the time. And I said, "Hey, I want to come with." So about a month ago, I started hiking with him, and he said, "This is good for the lungs," and I really wanted to build up my lungs. So I went up there, and boy, that was hard. It's hard going up a couple of miles just to get to the peak, but gorgeous, beautiful to get out there. And he said, yeah, it's crazy. At this time, there's so many people who hike now that, the parking lots and the parking spaces are full early in the morning. We'll get there 7 a.m. in the morning and all the parking spaces are gone. So, it's not just me, it's a lot of people doing the same thing, just going out and enjoying nature and getting in the fresh air. So it's nice to see.
Going back to basics, huh?
After feeling
Yes.
all what I felt about the fear of death and all those other negative feelings, it's good that we are back to the normal ones, and then the more we will realize to really live our lives
Hmm.
and happy and just enjoying doing what we can, making the most of it, and spending time with family and friends.
Yes. I think that's what this pandemic really did for us is we realized all these things that we used to take for granted that was normal in our life is really valuable. Every little single moment, no matter how simple it is something that we need to take heart and enjoy because it can be taken away so easily, just like with what's happening now. It's like grandkids can't even see their grandparents many times because there's that threat of infection that might occur. So it's a good thing, all the experiences that we had. Hopefully, after all of this is over, we realize that and we keep it to heart that it doesn't go away. The feeling, the specialness, the simplicity with the value of our links to each other and our connections to each other.
Yes. How long was it, Carlos, from the day you first felt the symptoms until the day that you went out of the house again? Was it 2 months consecutively?
Um, for me, right after I recovered, I started walking outside, but I stayed away from people. I just walked outside because I knew for me my lungs were really in bad shape. Um, Plus I have a car here, so here I think after a while they lifted no, we have to move our cars every day because there's street cleaning, and if we don't move our cars, we'll get a ticket. So I have to get out and move the car so that I don't get a ticket. So knowing when I walked half a block to move my car and I was gasping for air, I realized I need to exercise or I need to get out and I need to walk around and build my lungs back up. So I started walking around, staying away from people, staying away from the crowd, always wearing a mask. And, because I didn't know if I was still infectious or not. I didn't think I was. From everything I've read, I wasn't anymore, but still took the precautions to wear a mask so that just in case. Um, but I walked around, but I stayed around in the neighborhood. I didn't go anywhere else. My mother-in-law, however, stayed inside the room. She was afraid to go out. She didn't want to get anybody sick. So I guess it's different for different people, but she finally got she finally got tired of being in the room, so she wanted to get out. And the only time she got out was when she got called back to go to work again. So that was her escape.
Hmm.
And after that, you went hiking, and now you're in a photo tour, and I'm just so
Yeah,
happy to
yeah.
be with
So
you.
so the trip to Vegas tomorrow will be my first flight out. My first time stepping onto an airplane inside an enclosed cabin since this pandemic happened, since I came back from the Philippines. So I'm a little apprehensive, but you know, still gonna go through with it, and I'll still wear my mask.
Yes, and just follow
So
protocol.
we have to accept that this is almost the normal. We're going back to
The new
the new
normal.
norm. We're going to the new normal, and we
Right.
just have to take precautions and but be responsible for other people. We have to be
Right.
responsible ourselves. So we have to think about other people. So we have to wear masks or even face shields, and make sure that we are well before we go out. Or if we don't feel well, we should stay home. You
Mhm.
know, we have to accept that we have to adapt to the times,
It
these
has
changes.
changed.
This virus is here to stay, so we just have to know wo- and be responsible for our actions.
Right.
So we're pausing for a short break again. More stories when we return. Welcome back. You're watching COVID Stories. I would like to say hi to Elvira Lacson Manyo, Laura Aquino, Marina Concepcion, Ariel Tanangonan, Cholita Esplana, and hi George Laracas.
And Edmonton. Yes. Okay. Welcome back. Let's welcome back Mr. Carlz Lacson. He's our kababayan who's from New York City. And yeah, Carl. So could you please tell us how this COVID ordeal changed your life? Your life before and right now. How is it like?
Right now. Well, it's a lot more challenging now. I thought when I came back from Bacolod, I'd be able to fly back and forth at least, you know, 3 or 4 times a year. Now it doesn't seem like I'd be able to go back until next year. So that it makes that difficult. My wife and kids are still in Bacolod, and they didn't get a chance to come here during the summer. They were supposed to come here for the summer and tour the U.S., but that didn't happen. So there's a lot that we had planned that just fell apart, and I think that happened for a lot of people. So it's a good learning experience. Not all plans will come together. There's always something that may change it or prevent it from happening, and we just have to move on and roll with the punches, I guess. This is a very difficult time for me, and I think it's a very difficult time for everybody else. It's something that we all have to keep on moving and keep on surviving and keep on rolling with the punches and just get through with this until it's over, until everything does go back to normal. And I believe it will go back to normal if we just don't stop living. If we keep taking the precautions and being aware that this is deadly for some, not for all. It's deadly for some, and if we take precautions, we can live somewhat of a normal life, get some normalcy back into it, and get the economy going, get our jobs going, get life going again. And one of these days, we'll be back to normal again, and maybe even better and stronger. Um, that's basically what where I'm at. It's I'm trying to build at least the weaknesses that what's destroyed my body, which is really my lungs. I still have hard time breathing sometimes, so I do a lot of exercises to do that, um, and learning, taking up online classes, learning things online, and building deeper and better relationships with the friends that I have, and making new friends too. So I think there's a lot that can be learned in this tragedy, in these hardships. All we have to do is keep helping each other and keep encouraging each other, and keep being there to help you know us survive and others survive through this ordeal.
Mm. What's important, the learning experiences that we apply later on. And value life, enjoy life. There are
Hmm.
leaves for life.
Yeah, and I see that in a lot of people. It's not just me. A lot of people are doing the same thing, and I see a lot more people helping other people out, and they're saying a lot more encouraging things. I say, in the news, in the media, and social media, we see a lot of negatives and negative attacks and all this other stuff. I try to tune that out, because that's really not what's actually happening all the time. I mean, it seems like that's all over the place, but when you go outside, it's not. I see a lot of people helping other people. That's what I see. I don't see a lot of people arguing on the streets like you do in social media. you know
Yes.
so what I see in social media, what I see in the media, I don't think it's as real as what I see in the real world, because I do see a lot of real generous people helping other people, words of encouragement, and living life and trying to make the best of it.
In this world, we have the choice to absorb the positive and not the negative. At the end of the
Yes.
day, it's still our choice.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um,
Mm.
okay. So having experiences, having survived COVID, so we'd say you're different from a lot of people at this time of pandemic. What would be your advice to those who are non-COVID patients, to those who hasn't contract or
Mm.
will never contract the virus? So at this time, what would be your advice because of your experience? So what would you tell them?
Well, I think with COVID, it's very infectious still. It can easily spread. It can spread in clusters. Um, I think my advice would be, again, just take precautions, social distance, wear a mask, um, don't go in enclosed rooms that's crowded. Things like that we already know. Don't take any chances, because I mean, just recently, even the news, President Trump says that him and his wife, they have COVID. So it even reached that far. So it's not something that we can actually prevent 100%, right? It can happen. It can happen to anyone. And if it does hit you, I guess, don't panic, and try to survive through it. Get the support of your family, get the support of your friends. Um, I, that's just from my experience. I'm not a medical expert. I
Yeah.
can't really give any, that type of advice. It's really just from experiences. Just get through it, because you just have to survive.
Any words of encouragement for those who have the virus right now?
Yes, turn off social media, turn off all the negative news. Don't listen to anything that's negative because, again, it plays with your mind. It takes away your hope. Um, and, not having hope is dangerous with this type of virus if it's actually hitting you very hard. Um, so that's all I could think of because that's from my experience. That's what helped me get through it. For others, sometimes they don't have a choice. I don't know, where they are and how the disease is affecting them. But for those who can still um, have a choice, turn off all the negativity because it's not good to have that around you when you're trying to fight a virus and you're trying to fight for your life.
Yes, we should just have to keep being positive despite being positive.
Yes.
So, Carl, if you would give your story a title, what would it be? If you would
Oh, I,
if you would give your story a title, what would it be?
I don't know. Uh,
You
I
have your
mean,
own movie.
Your
my
COVID
own
story.
movie. Um, I don't have a title for it. I guess it's just life, and getting through, you know, a hardship, getting surviving through this. Again, it's not just the disease itself. It's how it's affecting everybody in our economy, in our whole world, and our whole way of life, right? So even though I survived having COVID, there's still a lot of problems that we have to face with our communities, with our economy, with our jobs, our schooling, and all the daily challenges that this pandemic has caused all of us. So it's not over yet. I mean, we're still going through all of this. You know, uh, I got over the disease, but we're still fighting with um, the effects of this pandemic. It's ongoing.
So we'd say your title would be "We're Still Fighting."
We're still
Yes.
fighting. We are. I mean, we still have to. We still have to keep on going. I do want to mention something else through all this experience because, in the apartment that we live in, there's actually three of us. It was, me and my mother-in-law, but we also have a roommate, Lagring Parisi, and she's from Kabangkalan and Bacolod. She helped us out a lot, tremendously. So when I was really really sick, and when my mother-in-law was really really sick, she's the one who took care of us. And the amazing thing about it is, she lived in the same apartment. We shared the same bathrooms. We lived in the same space. She never got sick, which
Wow.
was amazing. She never got sick. She never came down with any symptoms or anything else. So I was really really grateful for her. She was a blessing to both of us. Um, she helped us out a lot. So thank you, Lorraine.
You're very lucky to have lived with an angel during that time. You and
Yes,
mother-in-law are so
definitely.
blessed. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, mm.
So we're
So it has been an inspiring and knowledgeable morning. More we learned, inspiring, informative morning. Thank you, Carls,
Thank you, Carl's.
for this
No, thank you
morning.
for
We
having me.
from
Thank you
you.
for this talk.
Our
Yes.
viewers did too.
Yeah, any parting words you'd like to say before we go?
Well, I'm glad that you guys have this series because, again, when I first recovered and I wrote something about this, I said, there's the majority of the people do recover, but nobody tells their stories. And all we hear in social media are the deaths and the suffering and everything else. And it shouldn't be that way. We need to give hope to the people. We need to provide the positive stories too. There should be a lot more positive stories than death stories, right? Because a lot more
Yes.
survive. So that's really what should be out there because we can and we have and more people have defeated disease than people who have died. So that's really, I'm really glad that you guys are doing this and you're spreading the word that there's people who lived through all of this, and our economy and our world and our community can live through this.
Thank you so much, Carlz. It was a privilege having you and telling our viewers your story. I'm sure it inspired them and they learned a lot from it. So
I
hoping to
hope
see
so.
you all every Saturday.
Thank
Yes,
you.
at 10 in the morning.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Nyce.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Carlz.
Carlz.
This has
Enjoy
been.
your Las Vegas trip. I wish I could
Oh,
meet you.
yeah.
Just inspired. I'm sure I'll enjoy watching your photos.
Yeah,
All
I'll
right.
make sure I post a lot. Thank you.
Okay. See you next week. Bye.
Lantaw Kamaliwat next week at 10:30 in the morning every Saturday. It has been COVID Stories.